We're talking
So
with Blake
it's kind of
Walley,
hard.
radio host over on Freedomizer Radio, eccentric perspective. Blake, all right, so you see that it's.
I do have a master work. If you don't mind me giving a quick plug,
Let's go.
I do have a work. I tried to sum up the economy and trying to solve all of our world's problems here. It's actually called Peaceful Solutions for Impossible Problems. It was.
Whoa, say that 3 times fast.
find it
Peaceful in problems, explosions. What was that?
Peaceful Solutions for Impossible Problems. It's a one of my longer pieces, like an article video. It's got really great reviews, but I had really major problems with censorship. But you can find it on the Activist Post. You can find it on Before It's News. I believe it's on What Really Happened. And, of course, it's on my website, eccentricperspective.com.
Now, what censorship problems did you have there? What did you encounter? Was it CISPA, SOPA, PIPA? I mean, and Patriot Act? What are we talking about here? Because this whole movement to shut us up and keep us scared from speaking our minds. Look, there's no way that any force can silence the masses. We have a First Amendment right to our freedom of speech, whether John Adams goes and pushes the Alien and Sedition Act as soon as George Washington leaves office because it's dangerous to criticize your own government. Bull. That is so much bull. And it's a time where we all have to stand up together, because if we all stand up and lock our arms, nothing's getting between us. You know, I don't like how the left and the unions have co-opted the Occupy Wall Street thing, and I don't like how the Koch brothers and Fox News and the right has co-opted the the Tea Party.
Tea Party.
But I think there's a strong percentage of Tea Party people and Occupy people that are the same people. And if we can just strip away the barriers of the infighting of left versus right. Oh, you guys are bad. You guys are bad. We're the same people, and if we lock arms, we're going to win this. And you know, as a musician, I agree that if there's copyrighted material, someone should get credited, or maybe you should advertise it, or you know, maybe they should have a chance to sell an ad before your video if they want to get that uptight. But putting people in jail and shutting up freedom of speech is nonsense. So I'm just wondering if that's the type of censorship you've encountered, or something totally different.
On that one, on this one, it was very different. Like somebody, I don't know if it was hacked or what, but it was a big deal. Like it was put on the Activist Post, and it was supposedly, when I'm checking the YouTube, it was supposedly embedded on BeforeIt'sNews.com, and I've always had a lot of stuff posted on there. Zen Gardner's a good guy. He's always been very helpful and posted and published my works. But for some reason, it wasn't there. And when it was put on What Really Happened, but then it was removed from the news feed. So you couldn't, like, you're just going through the news feed, it wouldn't show up. But if you put it in the search engine, you'd find it. So nobody could find this thing. And I was talking to the Activist Post, and they were like, I can't figure out why they're not getting a lot of hits on it. The hits that we were getting on it, the people were really loving the video, and they were leaving all kinds of great comments. But then all of a sudden it got disappeared from some of the other news sites, so other people were unable to see it or pick it up. So I don't know. And then a few weeks later, they actually shut the Activist Post down for a day. I don't know if that was.
By the way, that is.
To do with it or not, but
by the way,
I'm
trying to pull it up right now. It is not the Activist Post. It's Activist Post.
Yes.
Like eccentric perspective, not the eccentric perspective, because it was saying server could not find it. So on Activist Post, it just disappeared. Because now we've done that before. We've taken videos off. Like we did an interview with David Wilcock. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's probably been on Alex Jones and Coast to Coast. Very spiritual, esoteric. If you want to get into, I mean, hell, everything from NWO and reptilians to galactic alignments and soul ascension. This guy's you got to dig around on David Wilcock. But we did an interview with him, and I mean, we did the same thing. We had a previous YouTube page, and it got 12,000 hits really quickly, and then we kind of made it not private, we just didn't advertise it. So if you still had the link, you could click it, but you couldn't search for it and pull it up. So you're saying that type of thing happened to your video, and you didn't set that parameter there.
No, it wasn't on the YouTube video. It was like on the news feed. Like if you went over to InfoWars or anything like that,
right.
You click their news feed and you look at all the stories they've published throughout the day or whatever, or even Yahoo, any of those kind of things. But like the article was on their site, you just couldn't find it because it wouldn't be like you look at the current headline.
August 29th, part 1 of 2 on the Activist post. I just found it. If you go to activistpost.com, hey, there you are. There's your tapestry. There's the purple tapestry, and hey, there's the background too. There's the island.
Yeah, not to brag. I mean, it's actually a really good piece I put together. One of my master works. It took me a long time to
sum it up for us. Now, here's where you can find it. Peaceful Solutions for Impossible Problems. Say it 3 times fast. Peaceful Solutions for Impossible Problems. Peaceful Solutions for Impossible Problems. Peaceful Solutions for Impossible Problems. It's doable, but it's very difficult. I'm just pretty good at this. I'm the most modest person.
Excellent.
At talking. So, yeah, if you go to that, Blake Walley, Walley, it's on YouTube and it's on Activist Post if you search for it. Sum up the content here. I know we got distracted talking about, like, the interesting quirks and that they pulled it and then they didn't pull it and they switched it, but then they couldn't find it and whatever. But I'm looking at it now. It can be found. Tell us what it's all about here, the Peaceful Solutions.
Basically, trying to sum up the banking system for the layperson, because I'm not an economist, but I do understand common sense, and I'd like to think I have some decent critical thinking skills and I'm able to discern the BS from the truth. So it's just a good way to sum things up, because a lot of the, like I said, legalese and Keynesian economics are used against the people because most people have no idea what that stuff means. So we need to get outside of that box and sum everything up. And I'm just talking about how do we get out of the giant mess that we're in, what should be done with the elites or whatever, which I have an interesting solution for that. And it's just trying to make a peaceful thing and just trying to spread the word and trying to have open debate. And that's what I'd like to see for a change in economic policy, or just even to have a big public debate about it, a big televised debate. Have all the world's renowned economists get together and have debates and have the people watch it and decide what we want to do going forward. There's an easy way to do this. So,
all right, we
don't have to eliminate the Federal Reserve, but maybe we could say, okay, how about next March 1st or whatever, we're going to get rid of the Federal Reserve. What should we put in its place, and how do we make the transition? There's an easy way to do this, so it doesn't have to be a giant economic collapse, and nobody has to suffer, and we don't need any austerity. So we got the resources. It's just a matter of thinking outside the box.
We're talking live with radio host Blake Walley. Blake, we're talking about your video here, Peaceful Solutions for Impossible Problems. This is posted on August 29th, 2011 on activistpost.com, part 1 of 2, although I see 3 videos here. You said one of the things you would like to see would be a debate about fiscal policy, and you think that the left and right paradigm, it's just to keep us I'm going to insert this here. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but kind of to keep us distracted and infighting while the real issues aren't debated. You would like to see an open national debate. Let's go ahead. I don't know any particular number, but let's just get a couple of bullet points. If you could speak to the entire globe, all of America, California, Nevada, let's talk finance for a second. What do you think? And like I said, let's try to sum this up into bullet points, not long drawn-out things if you can. Write in a 4th grade level, like they taught me in college with the newspaper. In a 4th grade level, 1 sentence. Are there a couple of points that you could put out there that you think the American people don't understand about the economy, should know about the economy, should consider and or question about the economy, and or consider doing to remedy the situation with our lousy economy? Where do you think people are deficient in knowledge? And toss a few things out there. Instead of a debate, what are a couple of important points that a lot of your friends, family members, coworkers, and citizens of the United States don't understand?
That's the thing. Keynesian economics is not meant for people to understand.
Okay, Keynesian economics. Let's just start to define Keynesian economics in a basic level. We can always split hairs and get more in depth. It's more complicated than 1 sentence, but in about a sentence,
extremely complicated.
What is Keynesian economics?
It's John Maynard Keynes, an old English economist, and it's hard to really define other than the fact that it's extremely complicated, and people that really are, like, I guess, the masters of it don't seem to really even understand it themselves, which should really show you that if the top economists don't understand how the system works, the average person has no chance. And so, and if anybody just wants to even tune into the New York Times and Paul Krugman or whatever his name is, and you can tell that that's one of the premier guys. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's got no real solutions out on the table, and that should tell you everything you need to know.
Now, Paul Krugman, he was in that movie Get Him to the Greek with P. Diddy.
That's the only time I liked him for
that was funny.
A brief second.
What is it?
Because that was an awesome movie.
My mom loves your, or my dad loves your S. Like it's a funny line. It's a funny line. It's a pretty funny movie. But yeah, Paul Krugman. He's kind of, you would say, Paul Krugman, and by the way, you and I don't really get into too much of the esoteric, spiritual meaning of life. What is the soul? What happens when we die? Conversations as of yet. I did a little bit on your radio show on Eccentric Perspective over at Blog Talk Radio on freedomizerradio.com. But Paul Krugman recently was quoted saying something to the effect, and I'll look it up now. He was saying that an alien invasion would be exactly what we need to rebound our economy. To improve our economy, Paul Krugman said that an alien invasion could unite us and fix the economy. Did you hear that one?
Yeah, I did, and it's actually, oddly enough, it's in my Peaceful Solutions.
Oh, it is.
You criticize Krugman for that. Yes, it's in there. I got it hyperlinked and everything.
Okay, let me say this here. This is from the Huffington Post on August 15th, 2011. Paul Krugman is so frustrated by the lack of support for another round of stimulus spending. And I guess that's where we can stop. We can press pause right there. Keynesian economic studying people. Yeah, economists. So Keynesian economists, they think that spending when you're broke is the way that you stop being broke. I disagree, because when I was broke, I had to stop spending money and work harder. Okay, so in this first sentence, I think we're already at it. Paul Krugman is so frustrated by the lack of support for another round of stimulus spending, read quantitative easing, read print more dollars than are currently in circulation so that the money your mother and father and grandparents saved up in the bank account along with you and your IRA will then instantly be worth less, which is theft and fraud and criminal. So anyway, Paul Krugman's so frustrated by the lack of support for another round of stimulus spending that he's now calling for a fake alien invasion of the United States to spur a World War II-style defense buildup. Krugman was a guest on CNN's Fareed Zakaria GPS, and if you haven't caught him, do so. It's just a complete waste of time. On Sunday, speaking with Zachariah and Harvard economist Ken Rogoff, he made the same case he has been making for years, that deficits are not the top economic concern of the day. Krugman noted that the effort of World War II helped end the Great Depression and joked that something similar was needed today. What does Paul Krugman sound like? Does he sound like me? Does he sound high-pitched and twangy? Is he Southern? What's his cadence?
No, he's not Southern. I don't actually know where he's from, but I'm assuming.
Because I could give him that dorky guy voice, like, if we discovered that, know. Well, that's kind of Ron Paul, though, so I got to be careful making fun of voice. Okay, I won't do a voice. But he says, if we discovered that, space aliens were planning to attack, and we needed a massive buildup to counter the space alien threat, and really inflation and budget deficits took secondary place to that, this slump would be over in 18 months, he said. And then if we discovered, oops, we made a mistake, there aren't any aliens, we'd be better. We need Orson Welles is what you're saying, Rogoff cut in. There was a Twilight Zone episode in which scientists fake an alien threat in order to achieve world peace, Krugman said. Well, this time, we don't need it. We need it in order to get some fiscal stimulus. Of course, Krugman is just using a space alien as an example, but that hasn't stopped some people from framing his arguments as part of a giant conspiracy theory by a shadowy group of elites to enslave the world through a fake alien attack. Now I'm going to go, okay, done with the article. Now that's kind of a little bit like what you hear with false flags, whether it's the Gulf of Tonkin or Pearl Harbor or 9/11. There are people that say that these events were intentional, they were planned, they were part of the responding team, i.e. America, that they were aware. Now, I'm not saying I subscribe to this, but there's a lot of people that call these false flag events that get us to sign away liberties like the NDAA and the Patriot Act that we would never give away otherwise, which is why the famous Bush quote of never miss the opportunity to take advantage of a disaster.
Don't let a crisis go to waste.
Yeah, don't let a crisis. Thank you. Don't let a crisis go to waste. Yeah, it's Rahm Emanuel. You can go back to Karl Rove and all the people in the Bush administration, from Dick Cheney and whatever. The concept remains. If there's something horrible, bam! Now I can get all of you. Now I can do something you would have never expected. And I'm not saying I necessarily buy into all of that stuff, but did you see the Coachella performance? Coachella is a big music festival out here in Southern California, out in the desert. Did you see the Coachella festival where Tupac performed with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg?
Maybe. That was a long time ago, so not that well. So, no, I wouldn't be able to comment on that.
Okay, go to YouTube and take a look for Tupac Coachella. Because Tupac, who's been dead for 15 years, performed in a 3D holographic image on stage with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. And have you seen the Norway spirals, the Norway lights? These things up in the sky, these things that it's not quite aurora borealis, it's not quite things from the atmosphere. People are saying...
Are we getting to Operation Bluebeam stuff?
What is Operation Bluebeam?
That is an operation that the government or whatever is going to be staging a fake alien invasion. They may use some sort of, I guess, holographic sort of imagery to make that look real or whatever, and get people to freak out and sign all the rights away, I guess.
Now this says the infamous NASA Bluebeam project has 4 different steps in order to implement the New Age religion with the Antichrist at its head. So, you think about this stuff, you hear about one world government, you hear that there's a one world banking system. It's mutually assured economic destruction. It used to be MAD, mutually assured destruction, with Russia and the United States with nuclear weapons. And then they added the E, MAED, made, for mutually assured economic destruction. So, you can't allow Greece to bail out of the Eurozone. And Germany must step up and take on the debts of Greece, because we're all one country. We're all one globe. We're all one economy, after all. I got a bit of a problem with this whole blend it into one government, one banking system, one microchip, one world, one national army, one NATO force that comes in. There's no sovereignty. There's no allegiance. It's a multinational corporation with a headquarters on the moon, for all I care, with no allegiances to anywhere but their own bank account. I got a problem with this whole one world thing, but, I'm just mentioning the Norway spirals and Tupac performing because if Paul Krugman is out there just kind of, oops, by the way, if there was a fake alien invasion, maybe the Christians and the Muslims could kind of ramp this up and get some nuclear action going on, if you know what I mean. Reduce the population a little bit so we can have ours. We can wipe out the debt and hit the reset button, maybe. There are crazy people out there that are saying similar things. Do you want to take this any direction?
Yeah, there's just no rationality. Like I said, this is one of your premier economists, and that's the genius you're getting. That's what he thinks that's what's going to save the economy. But, I mean, we're already in so many wars already. We've already got the war machine rumbling, and imagine the solution. So there's an alien invasion, or so we think, and so we go on a World War II style. Getting all the factories open while we're just cranking out all kinds of military equipment. And then, I guess there is no alien invasion. So we had, it got the economy going for everybody to go back to work and basically, then what? Then what do we do? If there's no more alien invasion, there's no more reason to manufacture a bunch of missiles or whatever, and then we're all just sitting on all this military gear that's not going to go to use.
1984.
What a genius.
Time to fight.
I don't know.
Yeah. Two or three global empires that are constantly at war with each other. You got the Newspeak, you got the Sheeple. It's 1984. And by the way, something really cool, if you guys are in the Los Angeles area, there's something called the Actors Gang. Tim Robbins, he's the guy that played Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption, one of my 10 favorite movies of all time. If you haven't seen it, stop what you're doing. Just rent it online, get it on Netflix, just buy it on eBay and watch it, the Shawshank Redemption. But right over here in Culver City.
If you haven't seen Shawshank, you're living in a frickin' cave or an igloo or something, I think. But yeah, definitely got to go see that. That's a must-watch. Everybody should own that thing.
Oh yes, and The Matrix. And it's like that movie where it's like Morgan Freeman, Andy Dufresne, who had to crawl through a river of blank. I will censor that.
Right.
And come out on the other side. He's literally crawling through the tunnels of human fecal matter to get out, and it's that scene where he takes off his shirt in the rain, and he finally can taste freedom, and the rain's washing him clean, and he's finally escaped from this thing he was never supposed to be in the first place. That's the moment. By the way, that's the moment I always wanted for LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Cleveland sports fans that haven't celebrated since 1964. Instead, he gave up and went to Miami and said, "I can't do it. I quit." So, like me, who I'm all about these awesome movies where the hero fights through just horrible adversity for an hour and a half, 2 hours to succeed at the end. Yeah, I'm a little bitter as a sports fan, but, landing on the beaches of Normandy, like in World War II, like you think we'd be landing on the territory of Sidonia on Mars. To handle this fake alien invasion, and then it's like, I don't know. It's just if there weren't people out there saying these things, we wouldn't have it to talk about. But there is a plan, and it's Project Bluebeam. You can look it up. It's on Coast to Coast and Alex Jones and InfoWars and all these programs all the time. Because if you want a world government, just say, okay, all humans are now one race, one country. Oh, and by the way, I'm in charge. Follow me. We've been warned to not follow that. I think limited local government is the best way to keep everybody honest, but there seems to be this push to make everything global, whether it's NAFTA, North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement, whether it's NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, putting troops on the ground, whether you have Russians training in Colorado, we have us giving over land in Alaska to the Russians. It's just, it goes on and on and on, and it's like, I'm sorry, we are not one people. We don't share the same values, and if we can't protect ourselves, we've really missed the point of the American experiment. So I don't know, Blake, I've something about our conversation today. I'm enjoying the rambling concept, and I'm not sure where to leave a question except to open it back up to you and allow you to respond.
I'm not even sure what to say on that one. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. I'm picturing like Star Trek or something like. I'm thinking like was it Zephyr Cochran or whatever, one of those Star Trek movies where we finally meet the Vulcans or whatever, and we unify and become a better species, and we all work as one. That's sort of like a benevolent, like idealistic type of thing, but it's not in the same sense of the systems that we have today.
Do you think a one world order would be a bad thing?
The federation. I don't know.
Do you think one federation
with the people running the show right now? Absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I wouldn't trust. There isn't any leadership out there that I would trust, whether it's Ahmadinejad or Putin or Netanyahu or Obama or Cameron. I mean, we could just go over all the leaders. I mean, they're all pretty much insane, power hungry. So no, I mean we can't trust the government and the leadership. So no, it's not going to work if we just combine it all.
I've listened to Benjamin Netanyahu. He's a pretty sharp guy. Whether you believe, whether you want to side on protecting and defending Israel or whether you think that land was taken. I mean, look, it's really complicated. I think, look, we're here right now. I don't want to see massive murders. Can we just press pause on all of the anger for a second and calm down? That's where I'm at. You know, like I get that there's generations of frustration, but Benjamin Netanyahu, he seems to be a pretty sharp character, whether you agree with him or disagree with him. But isn't it great that we?
Yeah, sociopaths are usually pretty sharp.
Wow. Well, I was commenting on the fact that I find it interesting that we take a world leader seriously whose last name includes Yahoo.
Good point.
It's always struck me as hilarious because when you listen to him speak, it's pretty intense and it's a lot of information to soak up. And it's like, wait, this is a Yahoo. Oh, it's Netanyahu. Anyway, the whole Israel-Palestinian conflict and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm getting tired of being Team America World Police, Blake. It's like we can't fix Detroit, we can't fix New Orleans, we can't fix Joplin, Missouri. Inner cities are graduating 30 to 40% of the people going there. That you have babies having babies, you have other people. It's just a bad scene right now. But we need to be involved in everybody else's business. I don't get it, Blake. Am I crazy?
I think it's kind of like the last throes of the Roman Empire. It's just the modernized version of it. It's just the empire is we're out of money, we're broke, and we're just trying to keep the imperialism going, keep invading other countries, keep trying to plunder and rob the world of resources, and keep it while the country falls into bread and circus and debauchery, and the culture goes down the tank. The economy is going down the tank. The corruption and Washington and Wall Street is just outrageous and beyond repair, and so I think we're seeing those exact same parallels right now. So
history repeats itself again, pretty much.
What's that?
It's an Eminem,
exactly.
Or no, it's a Kid Rock lyric. It says history repeats itself again. It's off his first album, but his first successful album. But yeah, I mean, it's like we're living in this cycle. Like are we ever going to be able to break this cycle, or are we just doomed to play this roll out until we get to the next phase, and maybe we'll see abundance before we die? I mean, what are we?
That's
what are
the thing.
we?
We got to be. Yeah.
Good.
No, I like you bring up that cycle that earlier in the broadcast. I think that's great. Now we all know history, so we all like I said, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. Now, how do we get that word out? Let's not let everything collapse. Let's go directly to the Renaissance and not go to the Dark Ages, because that's just going to suck for everybody.
Okay,
including the people in charge. Yeah. Good.
Well, it seems like some of these people think they're going to be able to ride it out. It's like you said earlier, some people have been successful, and they don't want to address the problem. They're like, hey, man, I got mine, whatever. It's like they want to just build a wall or go buy an island and be like, you know what, you guys fight all you want. I'm all right. I'm gonna be okay. I don't care what you guys do. And I'm a firm believer in if you work harder, you should get more. Like if you pick up an extra shift, why should you give it to someone who worked one less regular shift than you to average it out? You shouldn't. You're busting your ass an extra shift. You're working an extra 5 hours that day. You're pulling a double header. You're working through the night. You're picking up a second gig on the weekends. You're busting your ass. And you see people around you that are on government assistance, not lifting a finger, taking your money, and you're going, well, where's my incentive to give a damn? Why should I try? But at the same token, there is a segment of our society. And we had one of the callers on your Blog Talk Radio show on eccentric perspective at freedomizerradio.com. Go check it out, because you guys have almost 24-hour content, liberty streaming values content at Freedomizer
at least
Radio.
Probably 15 hours a day, yeah.
And that's very good, and that's why we enjoy doing your programs over there, and that's why we keep bringing you back here, because it's time to join hands. It's time to lock arms. We need to collaborate in solidarity.
Unite the clans?
Absolutely. I think you mean that in a non-KKK way, right?
No, that's more like in the Scott, like Braveheart, like unite the clan.
No. I didn't mean that. I know. I'm just kidding.
Not the KKK.
I'm kidding. The clan you mean is like a Scottish clan.
I didn't know if you caught the reference. Like, wait a second.
I did catch it.
We're not going in that direction.
I did catch it, and you gave me the exact freaked out white guy response that you would expect. It's like, no, man. No, man. I'm talking about like our tribe. See, I'm a Cleveland Indian sports fan.
Let's get to the real issues. Let's forget about all this silly conspiracy stuff. Let's get to the real heart of the matter here.
Well, I'm a Cleveland Indians fan.
Minorities that need to be
encouraged. What's up?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you look like, what the color of what the tone of your skin is. It doesn't matter what your eyes look like. It doesn't matter what your nose looks like or your ears look like. It doesn't matter what God you worship if you worship a God. It doesn't matter how much money you make. None of that stuff is relevant. And anybody saying that that is a dividing line and you need to vote against somebody or attack somebody because of that, that's a charlatan, that's a fool, that's an enemy, because we are the United States of America. And if we lose this, it's on ourselves. But I'm a Cleveland Indians fan, and I've said this before to a lot of my friends out here in Los Angeles, and quite a few of my buddies out here are from Ohio, where I was born and raised for 25 years. And I've said, you know what? It's time for the tribe to kind of reunite. We need to go back to our tribes and be with our people. Now, I mean that in a way where it's like, I'm an Ohioan living in California.
Right.
It's like, I have family in Ohio, I have friends in Ohio. It's almost like at some point I'm being pulled toward where I'm from. Whether that's Ireland or Scotland, whether that's to Florida or Minnesota or Nevada or, Texas. Here, let me be a politician. I'll give you all the battleground states. Whether it's Florida or Ohio or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Colorado. Whether it's Jim at this store doing this thing and see, I connected with you, buddy. I hate that stuff. Anyway, it just feels like it's almost a calling of a return to your tribe. And I don't mean it along racial lines or religious lines. It's just go back to where you're from, because we're going to have to lean on each other in our community real soon. I have that strong feeling like we're going to have to really rely on each other before the year's done, whether it's December 21st, whether it's the November election, whether it's some other false flag or actual accidental disaster. It seems like it's going to be soon where we're going to need to be around similarly minded people. And I could be way off base here, but it's something I've been feeling in my gut for the past few years. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That's an interesting concept, but not quite. So does that mean you're thinking about getting back to your roots in Ohio, or?
It's a thought. It's something that's in there. Thinking more about family. Thinking more about the overall concept. Because when you said Klan, I obviously made a joke about it, making light of the fact that there actually used to be a bad, filthy, disgusting, despicable group of people known as the Ku Klux Klan who would do filthy, disgusting, despicable people to things to other people just because of what they looked like or whatnot, or some sort of prejudice, bias, or bigotry, which I and you, I'm sure, denounce. But when you said about the clans, elaborate on that for a second, because that's how I interpreted it.
I was thinking like the Braveheart, like they're uniting against the English, and they're the underdog, and they've got to get, because a lot of back what you're describing is getting back to your clans, and people were closer with their family and stuff like that. So you just got all the clans together to go and fight, I guess, is how they organized back then.
So, it's we're just in a situation here. It's June 8th, 2012. What is your gut telling you? Who's going to be president this year? Who's going to get elected? What just your gut? What do you think is going to happen?
Wow, I mean, this is one of the craziest elections ever. I don't know if there's a clear-cut candidate. I think in 2008 it could have been pretty easy to say it was going to be Obama. That was an easy one.
The rebellion against Bush was strong.
Yes, it was him and McCain, and of course you could say the same thing when it was Clinton versus Bob Dole. That was another.
Yeah, Dole was terrible. Dole was the version of McCain. It's like when we know we're not going to win against a young, charismatic upstart, let's put an old, crusty guy whose time is here to get his butt kicked.
Zero chance.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just going to put him up as basically a shill. Yeah, so. But this one I don't know. I think Obama's stock is really dropping rapidly. I don't think he's going to get reelected. So, and then with this curveball with the Rand Paul thing, I don't know what's going on with Paul and Romney. I mean, anything goes this year. This is going to be absolutely crazy. But I don't think Obama. Right now, I mean, this could change. But I think. Over the last few weeks, I think we've seen Obama really drop heavily, and he's probably not going to make any kind of comeback.
He's had about
So
20 bad things in a row happen to him. It's like the Boston Celtics yesterday. I mean, the Celtics, like they couldn't hit the shots they needed. They couldn't stop the momentum, and you had LeBron James on the other side just knocking down every single off-balance, wicked shot. And it's like, well, we had our off day. He had his ridiculously on day. It just ain't going to work. And for me, over the past month and a half, I swear, from Fast and Furious to all of the leaked memos with our security agencies, with the Stuxnet virus with Israel and Iran, with all the things going on with Obama's gaffes and Bill Clinton's gaffes and Cory Booker's gaffes and all the politics stuff that gets in the way, I swear President Obama has gone about 0 for 20 in the past 6 weeks. It has been a horrible month and a half for this guy.
Yeah, he's pretty much damaged goods. Between the Holder thing or the birth certificate thing, I mean, if that can come back to bite him too, his past can come back to haunt him. I mean, he's got a lot of reasons to think that this isn't going to work. So I think he is a one-term president.
You know what? I will say, for the sake of our country, I just don't see things getting better. I don't see things getting better if we continue this path. I see things getting a lot worse without any concern for a re-election. Do you tend to see it the same way?
Yes, it doesn't matter who we're going to vote for. I think you're going to see a bigger turnout by the Republicans for sure in this election. And I expect the Republicans to do big things. I don't think that the Obama supporters are passionate enough to really care about running out and voting. And I don't think there's really much to go for. Obama just looks bad. He can't run on his record at all. So there's nothing but false promises. There's nothing going on. And Mitt Romney's going to be just, if he gets elected, it's just going to be another big joke. I can make a pretty simple prediction that nothing's going to change under his watch. So, and all you're going to hear is the same old usual, oh, it's Obama's fault, or if I hadn't had this problem, if it wasn't for Obama doing this, and blah, blah, blah. There's going to be nothing but more tired excuses. So, I've already heard this. I know how it ends. I've already, I've been fooled so many times, but
when the left can't be angered anymore, they pass it to a Republican. When the Republican can't be angered anymore, you pass it to a Democrat. It's just, it's so transparent to me.
Yes, it is. It's absolutely transparent.
It's one party.
How are the other people not getting it?
It's one party. These guys, and they get us fighting. No, it's more socialist. Help the poor. No, if you work harder, you should get to keep it. No, abortion. No, gay rights. Blah, 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 blah. I am 33 years into life on this planet. I mean, if I have the best life ever, I probably only have 2/3 left. I mean, to get to 99, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, especially when we might be walking dead at this point. So.
Yeah, since
I would have to get sidetracked with vaccines and GMOs and all that.
Oh, you know what? It's funny you should mention that because Pam Larry with labelgmos.org, we're probably going to, we almost got her on today's show. We may get her on for next week's show because we're following the ballot initiative in California to label all GMOs. But, you're absolutely right. It's just there's so much being thrown at us. It's hard to keep up with it. Even if we pay attention, it's hard. So, you're saying there's no difference Obama to Romney, maybe a 10% difference at best.
Little issues. We're not talking about, wars, NDAA, the banking system, Patriot Act. You talk about any major issues, and they're both the same. So whether it's just little trivial things like gay marriage or stuff, they're meaningless issues. They're not really going to solve anything. So they are one and the same when it comes to those issues.
Do you have anything positive to leave us with? Because I think we're about ready to wrap it up. But, I mean, is there anything positive? Because some people would say, whether Ron Paul wins this election or not, and whether you agree with his foreign policy or not. Because a lot of people like him on his economics. It's like, hey, this guy for 35 years, he's consistent. He says what he means what he says, and he gets it done. He's always the no vote when everyone's going yes. He's always the yes vote when everyone's going no. He's the guy that's protecting and defending the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, like Oath Keepers would hope that our elected officials would do. Now, if we don't have hope in Obama and Romney, and whether, Ron Paul with the delegates, however that plays out, because that's a wild card. We can say that for another episode of the show.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying whether Ron Paul wins this or not, he's already won, because the next generation of voters, we're not voting Republican or Democrat ever again in our lives. We've been fooled enough times. We think it's two sides of the same corrupt coin. We're over it. And by the next election, because he's done so well, he's been the last man standing now out of all of these other contenders, other than the one that was bought and paid for way long ago, maybe 4, maybe 6, maybe 8, maybe 50 years ago with his dad involved, that Ron Paul doing this well right now is kind of sealing the fate of America as we're going to rebound, because the next guy we put in won't be Republican or Democrat. It's going to be a constitutionalist that stops all of these, just the bastardization of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Would you tend to agree with that? Do you want to add something to that? Do you disagree with that?
No, he's really done a number with the young crowd, and they are turning things around, and the younger people especially that can't get jobs, and they have expensive, tuitions and stuff like that. They're really getting hit by this. They're not anything to look forward to. It's a lot easier for the old established people that have already made their money, and they're, at the, I don't want to say at the end, but I mean they're older, they're established, and they have a different way of seeing things, where the younger people aren't going to share that same enthusiasm and see that bright future ahead. So things are going to be changing. And Ron Paul's a big part of that. Whether they're going to go third party or not, or if we're going to see a change, because you're seeing the Republican Party there's a rift going through right now as that Ron Paul crowd that's kind of changing everything and changing the platform and changing the ideals. So you're seeing that. I've seen that over, and just here in Nevada, we've completely taken over the Republican Party. So where I would not consider myself a Republican ever in my life, now I'm still a Republican in name only, but it's different now, because I feel like I'm a different type of Republican.
A different kind of rhino.
Party from within.
Yeah, a different kind of rhino.
Like that could happen maybe the Democrats could have something happen like that to them, get some new ideals and get rid of the old dinosaur stuff and change the party from within too, and then you'd have two completely transformed parties. But
well, you have the neocons on the right, you have the socialists, the Marxists, and the communists on the left. And it's like, if these two groups, the neocons, the socialists, Marxists, communists, have taken over the left, neocons have taken over the right, how about they can keep their 5% fringe on the sides? And maybe the 90% in the middle can go, hey guys, can we stop fighting over a cup? Not that you're right and not that I'm wrong, but can we maybe stop fighting on these things for a couple of minutes and address the burning house? We don't need to change the floor, repaint the walls. We don't need new fixtures. We don't need a new ceiling fan. We need to put out the fire. Can we maybe just agree on this and let these idiots, the 5% fringe on each side, left and right, argue with themselves? Maybe can we take back control of our country? Because Bruce, my uncle, he said before, John Kennedy, the Democratic Party is way different than it used to be. Now, I don't know any better, but I'm hoping there's something positive that we can look forward to, Blake. We got about a minute left, so take it wherever you want it, wrap this up, and remind people where they can find you, sir.
Well, I'm very hopeful for this. I don't want to sound down about this. It's just I'm aware of it, and I'm kind of realistic about it. But at heart, I'm definitely an idealist, and I think we can get out of this. I think it's very simple. I think there's really an easy way to do this. So I'm optimistic, even though I do sound down, and we'll see. And if Romney does get elected or something like that, I think people will become disenchanted with him very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think he'll get about a 3-day grace period. I think Obama had about a year, maybe a year and a half, where nobody criticized him, and then it was just it was just like this outburst of criticism. But I think Romney would get about 3 days of, okay, what can you do? And then we're going to be right back on him real quick. So
it'd be fun to go after Fox and the neocons again. And really stick it to them like we did under the Bush years. That was always a good time.
Well, I'll say, why don't you remind everybody where they can find you online, on your radio show, on Twitter, your new outlet known as Twitter. And
right.
We will continue this at a later point. Blake, take it away.
Oh, yeah, thanks for the plug, Brian, and thanks for having me on your show. If people want to check out Eccentric Perspective on Freedomizer Radio or at Blog Talk Radio, or you can get the podcast at iTunes.
Beautiful.
And also the website, eccentricperspective.com. That hasn't really been updated in a while, but if you want to see some crazy journalism, check the site out and go to the folder on the right that says Eccentric Originals. And some interesting stuff. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It'll definitely change the way you see the world. So
it's kind of a red blue. It's kind of a red pill, blue pill kind of thing, Blake.
Yes, if you want to wake up, there's no way you could possibly spend a few hours on my website and go back to being the same person you were before. It will definitely change the way you see the world.
Thanks a lot, Blake. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Have a good time. Maybe I'll have you on again soon or whatever, but I'm sure we'll talk again, and we'll get to go through this Twitter thing again.
Absolutely. Until the next time, and we may join you on Monday again if that works out. Take care, Blake.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, you too.
All right, thanks a lot, buddy. Yeah, that's Blake Walley. He's a radio host over there at freedomizerradio.com. You can find him if you go to Blog Talk Radio. You can search for Eccentric Perspective. Blake Walley has been a regular contributor of our program after he videotaped voter fraud at the Nevada primaries. You know what? Whether it's Florida, trying to get rid of tens of thousands of dead people off their voting rolls, or Nevada, where you have fake Ron Paul people passing out fake Ron Paul documents, how about we just do this the right way? Whatever that is. If you guys want Obama, take Obama. I'm not voting for him. If you guys want Romney, take Romney. I'm not voting for him. But how about we do it fair? How about we do it fair? How about we just do what we say what we do? How about on the up and up? And Blake captured that video fraud, and we appreciate that from him. My name's Brian. This has been Agree to Disagree on thenewamericanmedia.com, TNAM Radio, because the news always matters. I want to thank all of our guests, Zach Barris, NBA scout, for joining us, Brandon Odell for talking some Cleveland Browns action, Blake Walley for joining us for pretty much being the co-host for the entire Agree to Disagree program. Find us on Twitter at American_media_, and if you're listening on YouTube, click subscribe. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate the hell out of you.